But you see, I'm taken aback by this borrowing. I thought there was a 1 billion we took recently from World Bank. We say we're going to take, because you see, the borrowing is so much now that you've lost track. I've lost track. There's another 1.15 trillion for budget support. There's another 2.5 trillion, 500 million, 2.5 billion, 500 million for Sukuk and all of that. At the same time, it is this same government that released a message that we have removed subsidy so that we can make savings, and they are making savings. Secondly, the same government, in one breath, says they are breaking records with revenue. So why are we borrowing? See, I'm sorry, with my little knowledge about things, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think your revenue is supposed to be able to cover your nascent costs. So if you are raising the revenue, and we are borrowing heavily, take for instance, the case of the Eurobond we needed to pay up. We decided to take loans to be able to clear up a Eurobond, but we have reserves. So there are many things that I don't understand. But the borrowing is getting too much. This was not the agreement we had now. When we said, okay, subsidy gone, the agreement was that, we're going to save more money and expend them on projects. We didn't say subsidy gone and borrowing will continue. So where are all the subsidy savings as we speak today? At the same time, in all of this, we are making more revenue. Contractors are not being paid. Ayo, I've been getting messages from Association of Indigenous Contractors in this country. Finally, it came to an end where they went to the National Assembly yesterday to protest. They said the Deputy Speaker had tried to broker a deal with them with the Ministry of Finance. They said about 3.1 billion or something will be paid, or trillion. The next thing, the contractors said they will not be paid their money. So we can't pay contractors. We are saying we are getting revenue at the same time. We are borrowing heavily. So what is really going on? And that's why we need to tell ourselves the truth in this country. Has this subsidy removal really done the magic we claimed it was going to do? Because it was supposed to be able to save money and be able to expend them to contracts. As regards the probe, I think, and I totally support the probe into the railway project Buhari did. That Warri Itape line has derailed many times. Even look at the Kaduna line, derailed. But with the National Assembly, it's just talk shop. Ayo, is it the same National Assembly that said off your mic? Till today, you didn't hear anything from off your mic. I don't trust any National Assembly. If they want to restore my confidence in them, they should tell us what transpired off your mic and the NDDC project and what happened. That's when I would take them seriously. All the talk of probe is off your mic that we end it. And for good measure, some people will faint. You remember when they were fainting? As regards the matter of this America and Nigeria, I see a lot of skewing of narrative. You know, this country, may God save this country. We have now turned the narrative into North versus South, which is not supposed to be. We have now done propaganda to an extent where it's now us versus them. No. Are people dying across every part of the country? Yes. Are Northerners, Southerners dying? Yes. Are Nigerians dying? Yes. Has this government done well at stopping the killings? No, they can do more. Because Trump has talked about it now, then there's been a lot. Like I've always said, we're a sovereign nation. Nobody can come in and invade our country without our say-so. We have seen security forces said, okay, we can get American support. But the question is, how can the problem end, the problem of killing? There's a popular adage from where I come from. They say a man sees a snake, a woman kills it. As long as the snake is dead. Please, let's take this matter out. And for us that we're so delusional now to think China loves you so much, with due respect, China is speaking for its own interests. Out of the 270,000 tons of rare earth oxide, rare earth metals, China mined over close to 13,000 tons from Nigeria. They are the ones shipping our rare earth metals easily away. So if America is talking about strikes, which I don't believe, which I just think Trump is bluffing largely, that's around strikes in the area where China is mining their rare earth metal, you think China will just look and be saying they should come? So when we are acting like China loves us so much, China is talking about its own interest, or the EU that is talking in our own support. You think they love you so much? EU that in this country close to 44 billion is going out. There's a particular refinery out of Rotterdam that out of Nigerian crude and everything, they make close to 9 billion. Everybody's talking about their own interest. But when are we going to have leaders that are in the interest of Nigerians? That's the problem we've always had in this country. Because you can see other countries fighting for their own interests. We are always constantly about the interests of our politicians that steal and exploit us. So it's a very sad dilemma that we are currently facing now. And please, we should not fall for all this love here and there and all of that. But quickly, a point I really want to make that is very important is I believe the Nigerian army can stop this killing. Is it not the same? This our country is a great country. I am so proud to be a Nigerian. This was the same Nigeria that set up the ECOMOG force. Over 70% of the troops of the ECOMOG force was from Nigeria. That worked over 7 years to bring parity and peace back to Liberia, and to Sierra Leone. Nigeria expended $15 billion of its money on ECOWAS. As at that time, if you adjust that money from inflation between 1991 to 1997, from 1997 to about 2001, if you adjust that $15 billion for inflation, Nigeria spent in today's money is over $30 billion to restore peace and parity to West African countries. That same country is great enough to solve its own problem. We need leadership.
Oh, wow. You see, in the midst of this crisis, problems, Christian genocide, Donald Trump is threatening to come to Nigeria, to invade Nigeria. A lot of commentators are commentary on these issues. Do this, do that. Tinubu requested for another 1.15 trillion naira loans from the World Bank. Now, the issue is, what is he doing with the money, or what is he going to do with the money? So, a lot of questions surround this borrowing and the problem we are going through now. I want you to please take your time, listen to this video, and what this Reverend Father said, so that you understand what is happening in this Christian genocide, or what is truly happening, what is causing this problem, while we are still here talking about this. I believe, in fact, just watch the video and don't forget to share, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Be your guy, run for me now, subscribe.
Government says it's going to borrow domestic borrowing, right? Yes. 1.5 trillion. The budget for the year 2025 is 59.9 trillion. Now, at the time, the government said there was a deficit of, I think, 1.1 trillion. Now, what the Tinubu administration is now trying to do is to fix that deficit by asking for 1.5 trillion domestic borrowing. And the Senate, having referred the matter to the committee level, says that this money will be used to pay local contractors. Now, the classical argument by people who know the subject much better, because it's their daily fare, is that, look, borrowing is not the problem. It is what you do with the money. And they argue, all these local contractors, we have had issues with these local contractors in this country. Local contractors are the problem that we have been discussing since Monday about, is it the NFF, Nigeria Football Federation, about the building of a stadium, either in Uborodo or in Benin Kebbi. These contractors abandon the job. So who are these contractors who are to be paid? What we can ask for is transparency. What we can ask for is accountability. And also, the same Senate treating the matter says that the Senate of the Federal Republic, the representatives of the people, are now going to probe railway projects under General Muhammadu Buhari because of suspected lack of transparency and accountability. Maybe there is a lot more that they need to probe, not just railway projects, because what the Nigerian people are asking for is basically transparency and accountability. And accountability, even if they say they are borrowing, domestic borrowing 1.5 trillion that they want, we would like to know what they do with it. And what is the item by item content that this money will be spent upon. So that all of us, including those of us who sit here every morning raising questions, can follow item by item. And I think that the deck stores, the box stores at the desk of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so that he can allay the fears of people who say borrowing all the time. And I agree with the view that we have even lost count. But if you have proper documentation, we can track it. And you have civil society groups like Budget that we should encourage, like Setup that we should encourage, like Enough is Enough that we should encourage to continue to help, the Nigerian people to track all of these details.
Yes, the key word is accountability, and that's that's what is lacking a lot.
From the government in terms of apprehending the attackers. We understand the authorities say they've arrested in that 3-year period about 5 of them, but up till now, 3 years later, nobody has appeared in court.
I mean, in Nigeria generally, that is actually the culture of impunity. Or it's not the only incident. A lot of incidents have happened. Killings have happened, even in churches and in mosques. But most times, people are actually not held accountable. And that has created the space and emboldened the jihadists to continue to massacre and to kill people in the way and manner, they have done. And I think that has gone beyond religion and even ideology to a point that where we have now the political economy of conflict, the kidnapping, the banditry, and it's going to be tough for people to give that up, particularly when they are making so much money. In a context that unemployment is so high, young people have no jobs, and therefore kidnapping and making money has become a very big currency. So we are still asking on the government how to end the culture of impunity from top to bottom. I think will be very important. And the situation of oil is not the only one. You go to Zamfara, you go to Taraba, a lot of people have been attacked and killed, and no one is actually held accountable. And even in certain cases, you find where the government has what we call the de-radicalization and rehabilitation cases, where perpetrators are supposed to be rehabilitated and reintegrated back into society, while victims are in IDP camps living on handouts and relief materials. And so that is quite contradictory, and I think it's something that the government have to have a rethink about and to see how we can rejig the situation.
And just in terms of the people of Owo and all the other people that you've been talking about, how they might be recovering from the attack. You talked about a lot of them in IDP camps and so on and so forth. I mean, one imagines that the psychological wounds must still be very deep, and it is something of a long road to recovery for those who actually survived that attack, and there's no programs for them to recover.
Absolutely. You look at Owo, you look at Dogon Hawa in Plateau State, you look at Zakibiam in Benue State, you look at Kizara in northern parts of the country, and even some of the situations that happened in Bayelsa. A lot of those young boys who were affected, probably they were 7, 5, 4 years, now 15, 20 years down the line, they are adults. And no psychological attention has been given to that. And that's why the highest level of drug consumption, particularly among young people, on how to deal with the psychological impact of what they have gone through, is happening in most of these conflict-infested areas. So I think that just beyond Owo is entirely a national strategy and a national problem. So we have to find not just the physical, rehabilitation of people, but also the psychological attention that we should give. Otherwise, we end up with a whole generation of young people that are psychologically broken, and therefore the sort of contribution that they can make to the social condition of this country could become really very difficult.
Very important point. And does that road to recovery feel even longer because of the perception that nothing has been done to address the injustices that these people have had to face?
There are accumulation of grievances in this country, either against individuals, against institutions, against the government. Why? Because these conflicts happen and nothing is done, and then the society moves on as if everything is okay. So it's really going to be a very, very big problem. How do we overcome that? At the Kuka Center, we try to provide community engagement. And one of the things that is missing, really, is just like what happened in Gachacha, Rwanda, the Gachacha project, where simply people come and sit down and tell the truth and onboarding what has been in their mind, just bring out all the poison that has been accumulated over the years and tell their own stories. I will give an example. Myself and Bishop Kuka, when we started this program, we were in Maiduguri, just to speak to victims. And one of the women say, even if you bring back my son who is a member of Boko Haram, I won't forgive him, because he killed his father and his own brothers in my presence for not believing in his own brand of Islam. And a lot of families are living with these stories, but they don't have the platform.
There's no outlet.
There's no outlet to even share really what is happening. And I think for us, it's a very, very serious problem. If you look at these institutions like NIM Foundation, run by Akilu, Dr. Akilu, these are the sort of interventions that they are offering. So beyond relief materials, beyond physical rebuilding of houses, the mental recovery of the person is much more important. And I think that we can only do our best, but the government really has to step up too.
And as you said, beyond Owo and some of the other places that you mentioned, there are numerous other attacks that don't even make the headlines.
Absolutely.
In other places in Nigeria, in churches and so on, in recent years. But when President Trump talks about an existential threat to Nigeria's Christian population, how do you respond to that?
Technically, we don't want to lay too much emphasis on the technical definition of genocide. I think the most important thing is that lives have been lost. And let us deal with what Trump has not said, rather than what he has said. Trump didn't say Christians are killing Muslims or Muslims are killing Christians. Trump did not say he is coming to fight Muslims in Nigeria. We believe that the jihadists and the terrorists are killing both Christians and Muslims. And so if the intention of the Trump government is to come into this country to take out the terrorists, I think all of us as citizens will eventually, benefit actually from that.
Because the fact is that the government isn't succeeding in doing it.
For 15 years, government after government, nothing has been done. And I think people are tired of the conflict. Sometimes I go to my local church here for mass every Sunday. I have to carry with me bags, of food items, because the church is filled with people who probably are IDPs. They have run away from this conflict, and you cannot preach in the name of Jesus and then walk away, leaving them in the same hunger and the same social condition. And I think that it's really very serious, and people are really tired. I am happy. Really, I was mentioning to Bishop Cook, and he told me, what? This period for Nigeria is a God-given period. It's a period for us to have the most difficult conversations that we have always avoided in the history of this country. So, for example, should Nigeria have two sets of law? The Constitution and the Sharia. Why can't we have one and all of us comply with that set?
Especially when this country claims to be a secular
Absolutely.
country.
So it's an important period. It's like we are all having a virtual conversation across the country. The market, online, offline, people are really talking about this issue. And the risks we run is actually that this period may just come and pass as a very normal thing, and no strategic decision is taken as to how we can come out of the woods. So it's important we have this very difficult conversation.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. The bishop, of course, in charge of Owo Catholic Diocese, Bishop Jude Arogundade, has said that he shares President Trump's sentiment and that anyone who says otherwise is not being honest. And obviously his parishioners, I mean, his people in his diocese are the people who got slaughtered. I mean, do you agree with him?
I agree, because look, when I was a student in SOAS, in University of London, I used to produce documentaries.
That's the School of Oriental and African Studies,
right?
I
had my PhD in conflict and terrorism, and I used to travel to border areas to produce documentaries. One of the places I went to was a place called Lukti in southern Adamawa, between Cameroon and Adamawa.
And you're from Adamawa State?
I'm from Adamawa State, and you just need 30 minutes to walk into Cameroon. You know, there were IDPs, thief people who were affected by this conflict. First, from Benue, they came to Taraba. Then from Taraba, they ran to Adamawa, and Adamawa at the border of Cameroon. And they call it ungoverned space, but of course, they are governed by other jihadists and terrorists, and they had to rent out land in order to farm. And even when they harvest, they have to pay a tax for them to be allowed to take their goods, to the market. They are literally at the mercy of non-state actors, and it is all over. So we need help in this country. We need help, but we still want to respect our sovereignty. But if this help will come to stop the killing, to stop the violence, I think for me it's really a welcome development, because every single life in this country really matters.
Absolutely, and there are those who say that the present situation of many Christians as well as Muslims calls for much more concerted government action, which is pretty much what you were saying, and that the government must be called to account for the lives that have been lost and for not doing anything concrete to address that situation.
I think even we lack data, we lack information, and we need to disaggregate this conflict and identify all the types of conflicts that are existing, the nature, the flavor, and how people, are being killed. But it's true, the government really has to do something, but particularly how to look after the victims and people who have been affected, by this conflict. We hope and we pray that something really will come out of this situation. But the situation is very serious.
Indeed. And President Trump talked about American troops. Would you welcome American troops in Nigeria, or would that be a step too far?
I'm not a military person. I don't know how. My younger brother was in the army. He was killed in Baga, And I think for me, welcoming the troops, does it mean really fighting, or does it mean helping with building the capacity of our own soldiers and helping us with weapons? I think I would prefer, the latter. That they come, they support us, they build capacity, they provide intelligence, because otherwise, the reaction, I don't know how the reaction will end, because you can see that China has already reacted. We are going to stand with Nigeria. We don't know what the Middle East, how they will react, and we even don't know how the jihadists themselves will react. You also hear the stories that they have surrounded Bamako, and they are likely going to take Mali, and maybe the whole of Sahel, and the contestation between Al-Qaeda and ISIS, with Boko Haram and the Jamaat al-Nasr al-Islam wal-Muslimin. So we don't want to get caught up, because the Americans
it could get very messy.
They were in Afghanistan, they were in Iraq. Look at the result of eventually what has happened. I think it has to be an engagement and a very strategic negotiation between the Nigerian government and the American government, and they should reach an area, where there's some sort of an agreement. But I don't want us also to dwell too much on the physical violence. There are non-physical issues, unwritten laws that people really actually go through. So, for example, the taking off of missionary schools. Can they return the schools? The refusal to help us build places of worship for certain faiths in federal institutions, for example. So I think for me, these are all issues to be discussed. There are certain places in northern Nigeria, if you are not a Muslim, you cannot become a traditional ruler. These issues must be addressed, in my opinion. And these are not physical violence. These are unwritten laws that are not part of the constitution, but they are being implemented because of the culture. But they are being implemented because of the cultural, traditional, and historical context of the place. And that's why we need to have a conversation as a nation. Which type of country do we want to live in?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought those things up. There is an international assessment from some US evangelical groups that suggests that Fulani gunmen are taking over large tracts of land in the Middle Belt, driven by their alleged expansionist ideology, which they say has been going on for decades. What are your thoughts about that, given that you're from northern Nigeria? I mean, isn't the violence between, for instance, Fulani herders and local farming communities more to do with a dispute over access to water, grazing land, rather than a dispute between Muslims and Christians? Or is it your sense that it is about domination and about authority within the Nigerian space?
I mean, what we have seen over the years in Nigeria is at two levels. Number one, there has been undocumented internal migration, really, in this country. People are moving, looking for better jobs, looking for better, standards of living, looking for employment, and most of the movement is from the far north down to the Middle Belt and the south. And once people move, they move along with their identity. They move along with their religion. They move along with their history, their culture, their language. And of course, when they settle, they don't want to forget where they are coming from. And I think for me, that is the evidence we have seen. And that is true. If you go to southern and central Taraba, for example, lots of people have moved from Katsina and other places and settled there. The second element is the environmental impact of this. My village is very close to Cameroon. It used to be very forested, where we find hyenas coming to steal my father's goat, for example, in the night. Right now, as if even the mountains have been taken to the salon and given a haircut. The trees and everything has been chopped down. The land has become naked, waterless, treeless, almost inhabitable. Just travel between Borno and Yobe. Just travel the far north. And therefore, something has to be done, and people need to move. And in that process, people weaponize their identity in order to survive, in order to participate in politics.
Yeah, people turn into their own little sort of.
And so for me, this is my own reading. This is my own reading. And when you now add the culture of impunity and lack of accountability, therefore people can use these identities to dominate one community or the other. They even change the names of communities back to their own either tribal or ethnic names.
Right.
And it's really what is happening.
Well, let me just make this point, because it's always important to bring out the data and the statistics. The group known as ACLED, which analyzes political violence around the world, says that if you look at, it's an independent group, that if you look at the attacks by Islamist militants in the north of Nigeria, thousands of people have been killed, but ACLED says most of these have been Muslims, not Christians. Is that a fact? Because figures from some local and international evangelical groups suggest that more churches have been attacked and burnt than mosques.
I mean, we have to position this within the context. You go to Zamfara, you have more Muslims in Zamfara. You go to Katsina, you have more Muslims in Katsina. You go to Sokoto, you have more Muslims in Sokoto. So most of the attacks that we have seen in the mosques against Muslims, it's true. Muslims are killed based on that region, but that is not the same story in Benue.
Yeah, in the Middle Belt, for example.
But there is a nuance to this. The Islamists will only kill a Muslim, but they have to declare him an infidel first, in the first place, because he doesn't believe in their own brand of Islam. And because he doesn't believe in their brand of Islam, this very extremist ideology that they seem to align with, therefore he can be killed. And in that case, he is even considered worse than a Christian. And that's why it is quite understandable and even acceptable that from the Muslim community, it is true, they are also being killed. But the jihadists declare them as infidels.
Right.
They don't believe in their own brand of Islam. But for me, it's not about these nuances and concepts. It's about the lives that are being lost and the type of country we want to live in.
Right. So I guess the real issue here is not whether more Muslims and Christians are being killed or the other way around. The real issue here is the people who are doing the killing. Absolutely. And why they've been able to continue these killings over so many years.
Absolutely.
So what would you like to see Donald Trump do about all this? Greater engagement with the Nigerian government to force them to make people more accountable for these crimes? Or do you think Mr. Trump should send American troops? I know you touched on this earlier, but we're concluding now, so we want to round it into a sort of nice little compartment. Do you think Mr. Trump should send American troops to Nigeria to deal with these very heavily armed militants, where the Nigerian government has apparently failed to rein them in?
I think for me, there will be two-pronged approaches to this. We have to deal with the military and the security aspect. But even if you clear these people out, we still have a substantial number of young people, particularly in northern Nigeria. If you brought 30,000 trucks of jobs to my village, a lot of the young people cannot take those jobs because they haven't gone to school. I am lucky I went to school. Otherwise, probably, I don't know where I would have been. Maybe even a member of Boko Haram. I have absolutely no idea. So if you look at Northeast, for example, 6 states with millions of young people lacking jobs, the only industry that is not government industry capable of employing 1,000 people is the Dangote Sugar Company in Numan. But everybody wants to have a job with the government. The government cannot employ everyone. And the private sector is dead. But even if the private sector were active, people must be educated. People must have critical thinking to allow them to make decisions. Education that can give them opportunities. And I think if you resolve that, that will be very helpful. So beyond the Americans coming to resolve simply the security and the military aspect, personally, I will call for massive investment in education. I will ask that schools should be returned to the missionaries. Those schools were very,
but you can't do those things without security, though, can you?
We can, but we have to clear out the security issue because these things have to be long term. They are not just immediate. They must be long term and really well planned. And if you do it that way, otherwise you just clear the issue of the security and you leave a substantial number of people without education, without jobs. They are just cannon foders. They will just, be transformed back into what we are trying to avoid.
So it's important to have this as part of a long-term sort of vision, if you like, 2040 or whatever, where each government is duty-bound to continue from where the other one left off.
Absolutely. We must have even a bipartisan policy among the political parties. Not that one party comes to government and then, they do away with everything that was done by the previous government. No. I think we must identify very strategic issues that can help resolve some of these problems. And they should be consistent, and there should be continuity between one government and the other. And for me, particularly for Northern Nigeria, honestly speaking, education is very important, because I believe it. I am here today because I went to school.
Father, I want to thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
You've made some very, very important points, and you've made them.
You listen to this video, very good. And this Reverend Father, he made a lot of valid points there. Very good. And these are the problems. You see, let's start with the issue of loan. I know I did a video concerning this loan before. The question is, what is Tinubu doing with this loan? You don't know, I don't know what he's doing with the money. Or the one he borrowed so far, what has he done with the money? We don't know. No, they told us that the removal of subsidy, it was for them to generate more revenue so that they can have more money to spend for development, for infrastructural development, and these projects we're talking about. Yes, subsidy gone, they make more money according to them, they are making more revenues, yet we borrow more money. In your business, if you are doing your business and you are making turnover, gain, profit, every time your profit is more than your capital. So what every month you smite to the bank with huge amount of money deposit. You have money to deposit in your bank account every month. That is, you taking at least this percentage with the level of your business. You could take this percentage of money to the bank to go and deposit. So what is need for you to go and borrow money again when you have more money in the bank to spend or to have spend to expand your business? So why would you go to the bank again to borrow money? So you just like bank borrowing so that bank will come and be disturbing you. What is that for? Or you just want to have deposit in money in your bank account. Meanwhile, you are going through a lot in borrowing. You are using your profit to pay your borrowing. It doesn't make any sense. The story is not adding up. We don't know what Tinubu is doing with the money, with the loan borrowed so far. They told us they are now making more revenues. The removal of subsidy was for them to make more money. The thing is, this is when somebody does not have ideas of what he's doing. When it comes to governance, I still remember when somebody said, I think it was Prince Adewale, one of the presidential aspirants in 2023, SDP. He said, it is not about grabbing power. You can snatch it, you can run away with it, but Tinubu does not have what it takes to run this country. In terms of economy, Tinubu cannot run this country, and he's going to run this country mad. Yes, what are we seeing today? Borrow more money so far. We don't know what he has done with the money, what he's doing with the money. Country is going through a lot. Country is collapsing. In terms of GDP, we are not progressing with the country declining under Tinubu. So what developments have we recorded under this Tinubu's government in the last 2 years now? Nothing. Zero level. Now the issue of security. Insecurity is not the order of the day. Genocide here and there. Right? A Christian genocide. Now people are talking about, we're not even talking about Christian genocide. Like I said, a lot of persons say, is there killings in this country? Yes, people are dying. Who are those people killing? Is Muslims killing Christians, Muslims killing Muslims. So that is it. But do we want it? No. Do we want the killings to continue? No. We want it to stop. It doesn't matter who is being killed. It doesn't matter who is killing. We just want this killing to stop. That's it. So if there is any external factors hands that will come and help us to solve the killings, fine. And Donald Trump never said he was coming to fight Christians or coming to fight Muslims. He was coming, I said this before, he said he's coming to invade the country to fish out these people fighting Christians, fighting Muslims. So if it happens that you are among the groups fighting Muslims or killing Christians, killing Muslims, you are among the groups and your religion is a Muslim or your religion is a Christian, so be it. They fish you out. So you are a terrorist. So you don't belong in this country. We don't want you. We don't want terrorists in our country. Why every time? So if since the Nigeria government is complicit concerning this issue of security, he can't fight it. So you need external factors. If factor is not through evasion, they just control intelligence. And the problem is, if you are talking about Donald Trump or US, this is not the first time now. The intelligence of the US, our military here in Nigeria, we see expose all the secret. What made them run away the other time? Or even now, our military are complaining that the Boko Haram, the repented Boko Haram recruited into the same army is the one exposing them to this banditry, banditry, different groups. So you arrested these people. You said they are repented. You redirect them. You rehabilitate them. You recruit them into the same military army to go and fight their mates. Who does that? If they arrest your police comes to your house and arrest your father or arrest your brother, and they say you and your brother and you are not. After recruiting you, after arresting you, they redirect you, rehabilitate you, they now hire you again to work for the police, just police now. And now the police is not taking you to making plans with you to go and kill your brother. Police is making plans with you to go and kill your brother? Would you go with the police to go and kill your family, to go and kill your brother? The answer is no. Before they get to your brother, to your family, if there is any means of communication, if there is any way you will quickly talk to your brother, hey, see the plan, they are coming, run away from that location, move to the other side, you will do that. After all, these people have mobile phones. You, as a policeman, you have mobile phone. So you can't afford to lose your brother, OJ. And the more you are giving information to these people, and these people, remember, they are making more money. The more you are giving information to them, the more they are giving you percentage. That's how it works. That's what they are doing. So like this is not, the situations, we are not going anywhere like this, because Tinubu cannot fight this thing. It is clear. It is clear. It is obvious that Tinubu cannot solve this problem. Do you understand? And again, if you want to fight this problem, this Boko Haram that we are talking about, different groups, it's not even really the problems. It doesn't take anything. Like I have been saying, I use a lot of instances, give a lot of instances, a lot of explanation to this. You are, if you kill, even if the US comes today, if you buy hundreds, thousands of these groups, different groups, because we see their videos every time, they are not celebrity in their state, in the north, they are celebrity. They go on a mass with different motorcycles, with guns, with weapons around them, traveling around the community. It's not as if they are hiding. They are not hiding. So people is the one. There are some sponsors, people sponsoring these groups, people sponsoring them, financing them. People are financing them. Where are they getting money to buy weapons, to buy these motorcycles and go around? They are not celebrity. They go to the town to eat food, to do all those things. Yeah, they pass through all those places. They are passing with motorcycle. Are there no policemen? Are there no military people there? There are military personnel in those areas. Do you understand? There should be a military personnel. So what is stopping them? And because of this, everything in Nigeria is politics. Politics. They are using politics to play games. They are using lives of people, human beings, to play games. It's all politics. So before you fight these people, you must first of all fight the sponsors. The sponsors are the major problem. Who are the people financing them? What the US should do, look at these people from the north, south, east, from the north, south, east, middle belt, all of them. They list, I mean, the UAE now, they publish the name. How many? Almost over hundreds of names, or even, I think almost 300 names of the people sponsoring these groups. Look at this name. That's what the US should do. Look at this name. Sanction those people. Place banned on their account. Freeze their account so that they don't have access to money. It doesn't matter who they are, the positions they are in government. Freeze their account, give them a visa ban, not to travel to the US again, not to travel to the UK. See if all this problem will not solve. They don't have access to money to finance. These people do not have they don't have visa restrictions. They can't travel out of the country again. You see, gradually we're able to clamp down this security we are talking about. Because we are just here joking. And again, what is the major problem? We have a lot of problems. Insecurity. What causes this insecurity? Because before, in the north, that's where we used to hear this level of insecurity, this and that. It has spread across. These people now spread to the other regions. And some persons in the other region, they are now hiding under the influence of these people to also terrorize, to kidnap, to make money, because government has failed. Government has not created jobs for them. Government has not provided anything. And the little thing that they are doing, they created for themselves. Little businesses they created for themselves. Government policies have killed those things. So now it's like majority of them, they are left with, in fact, go and meet your God. God should determine your fate. You don't have any government in this country. So you don't have anything you are doing. You don't have any backup. You don't have any backup, any sponsor, anybody at least financing you in whatever you want to do. You are left with nothing. So you don't have any option again but to do what you ordinarily never wanted to do. Do you understand? So it becomes a problem. Now, the question is, since Tinubu comes in as a president, he became the president of this country. How many jobs has he created? How many jobs has Tinubu created? That's where we should start from. But if I ask you now, how many jobs has Tinubu created? You cannot give me figures. But if I ask you now, how many people Tinubu make redundant unemployment? We have figures on that, because under Tinubu now, we now have 39 million. We now have 139 million in poverty, according to the World Bank. And the percentage under Tinubu, it has increased. Do you understand? Because we know many companies are shut down under Tinubu. They shut down, they left this country because they can't meet up again with these Tinubu policies, with the increase in petrol, the dollarization, I mean the devaluation of Naira, and a lot of things like that. So they can't meet up again. A lot of companies shut down, they left the country. Those people, companies that had thousands of workers, or even if they are not up to thousands, those people, what are they doing? You make them unemployment, right? So all these problems, a lot of people who created jobs for themselves before, they solely depend on generator because there's no light. Generator now, they can't afford those things again. Now you make them, what are they doing? So a lot of businesses are shut down, no patronage again. All these handymen, there's no job again for them. Those people that repairing of generator is their businesses before, they don't have jobs again. They are doing because people hardly use generator because of fear, lack of fear. They don't use generator the way they used to use generator before. So that generator breaks down, they had to go and fix it. So you go by like that. Tinubu created more unemployment than creating employment to the youth, and that is a major problem. And we are talking about these people fighting. Where do we start from? Some governments are no, I don't know. There's this gap between the government and the people they are looking after. There's a huge gap. Do you understand? If government comes into power, the next thing is to demolish houses, to demolish businesses in the name of they want to develop a city that is already developed. They can't go to the villages. They can't go to the area where there is huge vacuums of ungoverned area. Those places are the problem. Do you understand? Because of this ungoverned area is where what is giving rise to this insecurity, giving them opportunity to hide in different forests, bushes where you cannot easily find them. So all these becomes the problem of this country. So now Tinubu has not created jobs for people, yet he created unemployment. And then EFCC is on the other side going after this youth. Is saying you that you don't create jobs for, they not find a way, a means of surviving. Then you go after them. You say no, they must not do this. They must not do XYZ. Anyways, what do you think? Please share this video and follow for more. So we have a long way to go. So all these things is doable. It's because we don't have a listening government, president who knows what he's doing, who actually mean well for the country. So all these things is doable. What we're talking about, production. How many jobs has he created? No. How many companies, factories has been built under Tinubu? We don't have any. Please share this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more.